me up an email, definitely my office.
Morning, everyone.
Morning.
It is
Right information.
Friday, March 29th. Welcome to the Personnel Higher Education Committee.
Hey, you wanna hold it down right back there?
A little busy.
First order of business, motion to approve the committee meetings from last month. Supervisor Thomas, thank you. Supervisor E2, any comments, corrections? Seeing none, I'll call that question. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? That carries. Next, privilege of the floor. Supervisor McGowan.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I just wondering to know if one of these articles will be going into executive session to discuss some of the things I might want to
If we're
discuss.
talking about individuals, yes, we'll be going into executive session and typically our attorney does enter an executive session to talk about some of the legal issues and actions that are before us.
Thank you.
Welcome. Any other comment? Seeing none, moving forward, the action agenda, City Adirondack Higher Education. Good morning, Dr. Duffy.
Good morning. Good morning, everyone. And looks like the snow is melting. So we are moving really into spring, we think. I have a couple updates to share with you. The Board of Trustees has appointments 4 from the counties and, or excuse me, 5 from the counties and 4 from the governor. At this point, we have 2 trustees from Warren County whose terms are up at the end of June. So the trusteeship committee, which is the portion of the board that looks to fill those positions, has made 2 recommendations to this board that was shared with Chairman Garrity and Supervisor or Administrator Taflin. So we're hoping that the board will take that up soon so that we can have a seamless transition from 2 board members rolling off on a 10-member board. As you can imagine, that would leave a big hole for us. And so we're hoping that you will be able to review those soon and be able to render your decision. Spring enrollment, we're more than halfway through the semester, so it feels like a long time ago that we started the spring semester. But just to let you know, we did end up ahead of last year in terms of our enrollment counts. So that was a good trend to see. We had more new students than we did the previous spring, so we were happy to see that. And we also have more students taking college courses in their high school, which of course helps students to advance and be even more prepared for college. So we're pleased to see that trend continuing. And at this point, our applications for the fall semester are tracking ahead of last year and in our service area, which is really nice to see. Some big news for the college. Just a little history, our site in Wilton in Saratoga County, we've been serving Northern Saratoga County really for almost 46 years now. But in that particular site, which we opened in 2012, we've been designated by state authority as an extension center. And that has a very specific definition in state education law, which prohibits us from being able to offer full degrees at the Saratoga Center. So we've been offering courses there so that students could at least start a degree program, but ultimately they always had to travel to Queensbury at some point in their program to be able to complete. And as you can imagine, for some students, that was good convenience, but it's a little hard to market something to say, hey, come take some classes. But if you want to get a degree, you have to travel another 25, 30, 40 minutes, depending on where someone lives. So starting almost 2 years ago, we put in an application to New York State to change that designation to what's called a branch campus, which has the authority to offer full degree programs. And after many, many months of paperwork and red tape, as I might say, we were happy to say that we were approved to be a branch campus about 3 weeks ago. And so we will be off and running. We will offer at the start 4 degree programs fully at Saratoga. But it gives us the opportunity to also offer unique programs at Saratoga. We don't have to offer the same degrees that we offer here as we would in Saratoga because communities are different, their needs are different. So it gives us a lot more flexibility as we get our feet under us. You should have received an invitation to come and celebrate with us on April 9th. It's really just an opportunity to make a public statement that Yes, we've been here, but now we have more opportunities for people in the Saratoga County community to complete their degree. And as many of you know that have been around for a while, Saratoga County is the largest percentage of our population. They contribute a significant amount of funding to the college. So being able to increase enrollment in Saratoga is not only good for the community, but it's also good for our finances. So we're really excited about that. And in the theme of excitement, we have several other initiatives that are taking place this month. As you know, we have SUNY Plattsburgh on our campus, and they are a branch campus. So the same kind of regulations apply to Plattsburgh. And of course, they do offer full degree programs. We've always had the ability for really seamless transfer, but we're now making it even more intentional and even easier for students by completing what we call a dual admission program, which means that when a student applies to SUNY Adirondack as a first-year student, they can indicate they also want to transfer to SUNY Plattsburgh right when they start with us. That then triggers a great deal of communication and advising and counseling for students while they're with us to make sure that they're taking the right courses, they're, preparing themselves to be able to move seamlessly into Plattsburgh. So we're having we like events, we like to make a big splash. And so we'll be, that's on April 15th at Queensbury to be able to celebrate a new opportunity for students. In addition, and this is really very good for the community, part of, sadly, the closing of College of St. Rose meant that they had to prepare what they call a teach out program for all of their different degree programs. They had to identify at least one four-year college partner that would take over those programs so that students that are currently in those degrees have places to go with a very intentional agreement. So Plattsburgh is now the teach out center for any student who's enrolled in social work at College of St. Rose, both at the bachelor's and the master's degree level. And they will be offering those programs not only at their main campus in Plattsburgh, but also at Queensbury. So local residents could also take advantage of a social work program. And as we all know, the need for mental health workers is tremendous. And so being able to bring that program to Queensbury can also help some of our students, but also help students currently at St. Rose. And we're hopeful that once the teach out portion of their obligation is completed, that there will be enough demand to be able to keep those programs here at Queensbury. Starting this fall, Plattsburgh will also be adding a program in information security, so cybersecurity, as well as in human services. And those, again, are completion programs that our students can transfer into once they've completed their associate degree, as well as community members who may not have completed a bachelor's degree yet. They can also take advantage of it. So we think, a lot more opportunities for this community, those that may be more place-bound, aren't interested in driving to Albany or wherever else they want to go, especially our adult students who have other obligations here. This gives them another path to a bachelor's degree. And then we've also, we're finalizing an agreement with SUNY Cobleskill to offer a bachelor's completion program in business at our Saratoga site. So we expect to launch that in the fall. And also the dual admission agreement that I just mentioned with Plattsburgh, we're doing the same thing with the University at Albany. Our biggest transfer destinations are Plattsburgh, Empire State, and Albany. So having it, again, much more intentional, the minute a student applies for admission, if I want to go to University at Albany, they're assigned a specific advisor that works with them. And again, just trying to make it as easy as possible for students to know they have a place. Interestingly, the data shows across the nation, not just at Adirondack, more than 70% of our students say on the way in, their goal is to transfer and achieve a bachelor's degree, but less than 30% actually end up doing that. And there's just so many things that derail a student in that time period. The easier we make it for students to move from Adirondack to a four-year institution, we hope to improve their opportunities to do so. So lots of exciting things happening there. And of course, like everyone else, the solar eclipse is coming, and we will be doing a watch party on campus and on April 8th. Not to finish on a sour note, but the state budget advocacy efforts that you helped us, and we've been rallying around like everyone else for the last several months. At this point, we don't see that the $97 million request to bring the state's obligation up to what the counties are contributing is likely to happen. There was a little bit of hope in the one House bills that come out from the Senate and the Assembly. They did each put an additional amount in their one House bills to support community colleges, but not nearly the amount that we had requested. So we haven't given up necessarily, but we're budgeting for no new increase from the state, which will put us at the same amount that we've had for the past 4 years, which is disappointing to say the least. Which means, again, we're just very appreciative for the counties for stepping up and meeting their obligations, not only here in Warren County and Washington County, but across the state. So we will not give up on the advocacy need. The fact is that the state has not been meeting their obligation for several years. And we will continue to work with our state leaders to help ensure that in the future we can increase our operating aid to help us improve the way that we serve our communities. So that's what's happening on the state budget end. But I'm happy to answer any questions that you might have today.
Thank you, Dr. Duffy. Before we get into questions, there is a resolution to appoint these trustees. And why don't we just bring that to the floor? If I can have a first and a second. Supervisor Driscoll, Supervisor Etu. Any questions, comments about the trustees? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? That carries. No questions for Dr. Duffy? Ben?
Thank you, Chairman. Good morning.
Good morning.
Request, it's all or nothing. I mean, you asked for 97 million.
If they give us something, we'd be happy.
Okay, but that's a possibility.
Who knows, Ben?
Okay, all right,
Yes.
okay,
Yes, it's a possibility.
Okay.
Anything's possible.
all right, okay.
Yes.
Any other questions? Seeing none, Dr. Duffy, thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Moving forward, request to be discussed by the Human Resources Director. Jackie isn't here this morning, but I did have a discussion with her regarding our vacancies. And our vacancies are more, have evolved basically to our typical normal level. So we're doing well on those fronts. So next item is Director of Information Technology, Mike Coleman.
Morning. So we want to discuss the shared services we've been talking about for a while and introduce our resolutions for it. I'm not exactly sure which order we're supposed to do. I know the county attorney has one we're supposed to do, and then I've got one. I'm not sure. Am I doing mine?
However you want to go.
Okay. So we put together, I work with the county attorney a lot. We put together an agreement that we would use, pass resolution to have an agreement with towns so that the town so chose that we could support towns with the county IT department. We've talked about it for a while. We're not, breaking new ground. It's something that's happened across the state and, works well. And some counties are doing it, other counties are looking at it, and it's just something we're looking to formalize to provide actual support for. Having it formal does more things than just doing it, because state audits are requiring a lot of things to be written down. So it provides a lot of those things. And our biggest goal really is, we're nice people, but we're getting something out of it. The better protected the towns are, the better protected we are because we work with the town. So that's really our biggest goal. So, and that's what we're introducing.
Do we need a motion? Supervisor Molino, Supervisor Dean. Thank you. Any questions? Supervisor Thomas.
What's MAAS? What's that stand for?
So, you know what?
I can hit that one if that's
Yeah.
all right.
Yeah.
That's the result of having a lawyer involved. And really what that's a term for is the minimum applications and services that the county IT will be providing under the intermunicipal agreement. The overarching concept is almost like a subscription service, meaning there's a bundle of services that are available. I don't mean it to sound harsh, but it's kind of like a take it or leave it, because there are minimum requirements if the county IT is going to be involved with the town to ensure that the IT department is comfortable with the package that's available. So the package includes a number of things: remote access, endpoint protection, patch management, cybersecurity training. And then the last piece of it is up to 2 hours per user per calendar month as part of a fixed fee arrangement per user in the town. So there's some predictability on behalf of the town, meaning you know how many users you have. There'll be a fixed fee that accrues on a monthly basis. Open question on whether the towns would pay annually or on a monthly basis, on a rolling monthly basis. But that's kind of the foundation, as I understand it, from the director of IT, that allows his team to basically be on call for those towns who are part of the agreement on a monthly basis. The 2 hours, the time per user accumulates and can be used by the entire town. So it's not like each user has a max of 2 hours for helpline or troubleshooting or whatever issues come up. That would kind of be a monthly bucket that accrues for the town. County IT would be tracking that, and there would be no charges as long as it's within that bucket of time on a monthly basis going forward. The second part of the agreement, though, is the per diem portion. And the per diem portion is really a project by project approach, so that county IT and the town can actually, has the authority to coordinate, get a proposal or an estimate of the cost, get that approved by the town, so that the county IT can come in and do that as an additional one-off for the town on an as-needed basis. So there's the package that would be fixed on a monthly basis, and then an on-call for anything larger outside of that package.
I hear a lot of talk about charges and fees and everything, but I don't see any numbers there.
Yeah, I don't either. There was a Schedule A that was prepared. It's not in the package. But we can certainly circulate that. My understanding is that it's the actual cost averaged across the county IT employees. And that's done to represent an at cost approach to the per diem rate. And the per diem rate is basically just the average of the salary and benefits for the IT department divided by the gross divided by the number of employees gives the premium, the per diem hourly rate, and then that per diem rate appears in Schedule A, which of course isn't here. And then there's the actual cost for the different programs that are being used on a monthly basis that are part of that IT mass, which is the remote access, the endpoint protection, patch management, cybersecurity training. And Mr. Colvin can correct me if I'm wrong, but it would be the same cost almost for the county employees because it's a per user cost on those programs.
Okay.
So I don't have the.
Yeah, I thought it was on
It's
our
not
thing there.
branded, but it was just basically a breakout of what that number is.
Yeah, $35.33 a user per month.
So can we have a motion to bring
Have
this?
that number or,
Yeah, I thought it was in the pack there.
yeah, you want to just let everyone know since I can pull it up, but if you have it.
Yeah, I had $35.33 per user per month for our endpoint protection, the cyber training, the support. And then if we did something outside of it, $55.74 an hour for projects. Which is just taking all of our hourly rates with fringe benefits divided by the staff just to come up with a rate.
So we do have a motion. Thank you. So any questions, comments?
Yeah.
Ben?
Thanks, Chairman. You've referenced towns, maybe it's a naive question, but is the city of Glens Falls considering the shared services initiative?
So right now, my goal is to start small, to walk before we run.
Okay.
So to approach all the small towns to make sure we get this kind of ironed out, because it's really kind of new. So we can test this out, log everything, and see how close we are before we even approach a subject with anybody larger.
Makes sense. Yeah, good.
Because I feel like right now, we don't need any additional staff for
Right.
the small towns. Based on my experience, if we were to start looking at the larger ones, then that would be different.
Okay.
But it would be too much to bite off all at once.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Test the waters first.
If I could just add, because one of the points that IT brought to my attention is that towns may be in different points of need. There's a certain minimum standard they have to be at in order to get into the IMA. And that's one of the provisions in here that county IT has to actually inspect and certify that the system as it currently exists meets the minimum requirements for the county to commit to the upkeep of the system, hardware and software. So there is that process for every town, and some towns may have to do some work before county IT would agree to take it on a subscription basis going forward.
Just to follow up to that.
Nice.
So what I am understanding is that there has to be a demonstrated need as opposed to maybe a larger municipality like the city of Glens Falls looking to save money.
I don't
Yeah.
think so.
Yeah,
I-
not
I
a
don't wanna
demonstrated
speak for
need, but
IT.
based on my experience, I look at it and I say, I see this is gonna be problematic, and instead of just fixing, say, you know what, this is gonna be a problem, we need to bring that up to snuff so that it's not a recurring issue. Just to make sure it's a good, solid environment to support. If there's something that's happened over and over, if we fix it right the first time and be done, because we don't want to be fixing the same thing every month.
Okay.
Yep, just make sure you're good and solid, and then we should be good to go.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, and basically what would happen, as I understand it, is there would be an estimate or a statement of the upgrades that need to occur. And then the municipality would determine if they want to do that or not. And if they do, they could have county IT do it in order to get into the monthly maintenance program.
Any other questions? I just do have one. Mike, in your experience, has this been a cost saving for the towns?
I think so. Yeah, if you, like the whole idea of like the inspection, you get it done right the first time instead of fixing stuff over and over, do it right the first time. You haven't got to keep fixing it. And a lot of towns because I've worked with lots of them, they're all doing the same things. And once we know one thing, we've already figured it out and know it for the next town and the other town. And like I said, and to just keep everybody safe and protected under one big umbrella, which is just following the same example that the state's doing.
So this resolution will allow this to happen, but it's up to you to convince the towns then.
Correct, yeah,
Right.
yep,
All right, so we're
just to give them
we're
an
not
option,
something.
gives them the option.
Jack? Rick?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'd just like to say, we've been working on this for about a year. We started about this time last year, trying to think about a better way to do this to help the towns. And it's really focused on, we've got a phenomenally talented IT organization. It's really focused on offering services to the towns. They can purchase equipment, and the IT organization will help. And we think it's a significant cost savings for the towns. Thank you.
You're welcome. Any other questions, comments?
May I make one comment so there's
course.
no confusion going forward on this? You're not actually approving a proposed resolution for specific towns, but you're authorizing county IT to enter into contracts with any of the municipalities in any of the town municipalities in Warren County, should those towns want to participate in this agreement. Because the second phase is really for the towns to then decide and do their process to approve based on the agreement and the proposal that's before you. So we're not saying town of X, town of Y, town of Z. We're saying that the Board of Supervisors, we're recommending the board to approve the ability of county IT to enter into the intermunicipal agreement with any of those towns under these terms that want to join.
Ben?
That's off of our plate and on to the individual town boards to say yes or no.
Yes.
Gene?
I think this is a great idea. As you know, a lot of us little towns, most of the people that work in them are not very, run a computer, but when something's wrong,
Yep.
they'll get shut down for a while. I think this is a great idea. It could help a lot.
So just one more for me, Mike, staffing internal, if this expands enough, are we going to need to add additional staff?
If we, outside of the small towns, if say you think about like a Queensbury, Glens Falls, definitely. You know, because that just, you know, based on numbers, I think without them, that we're sufficient where we are now.
Supervisor Mayday?
How much of an increase in personnel do you think if you took on the Queensbury and?
Oh, so we did that. I mean, if just off the cuff, I had one person.
And I'd just like to add, that would be because the services we were provided, say like a Queensbury or Glens Falls, you know, the funds that are coming in would fund the additional people, the additional. It's not something we just create and pay for the general fund.
Any other questions? Seeing none, I call the question. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Seeing none, that carries. Moving on to Human Services, and I'm glad Ben's here to help with this, but 4A is a request to create a new position of intake clerk and delete a position of social welfare examiner. From my notes, this is really something to support the increased demand in the intake area
Correct.
of social services. So I need a motion to bring this to the floor. Supervisor Mayday? Supervisor Thomas on the second. Any questions, comments? Seeing none, call the question. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Carries. Item B. Create a new position of Director of Services and to delete the position of Case A Supervisor. This is also tied closely to item C with creating a Director of Services of Public Assistance and deleting the Deputy Commissioner of Social Services. And this is just a reorganization of what Nina was thinking about in terms of how to run her organization. And Ben, if you have any more to add to that?
No, I think it's a strategy that's used by most social services throughout New York State, especially upstate. And it's basically a way to keep the engine running well, the way that it has been.
Okay, thanks. And need a motion. Let me have a motion to bring this to the floor first. I'm sorry. Motion to bring it to the floor. Supervisor Mayday, Supervisor Thomas, Administrator Taffman.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. And this is, it's a similar structure to what, if you look across the state, every DSS organization is structured differently. So it's hard to say this is exactly like, but this is similar to many of the smaller counties, basically, and it's completely cost neutral. She's just reorganizing instead of having one deputy and then the two organizations as supervisors, they'll be directors. They can also serve in her absence as acting commissioner too, so.
So again, for clarification, this is moving items B and C. All right, if there's no objections. Supervisor McGowan, I see you, but I've been advised that any kind of debate associated with any of these items are for the committee, and any other comments can be raised in privilege of the floor.
Well, I was looking for an executive session.
Executive session on this item?
Yeah.
Oh, I'm going to open it up to the committee in terms of whether or not we need to discuss this in executive session. Need a motion to move that forward if that's appropriate. Seeing none, I don't believe we're going to go that way, Mr. McGowan. I'm sorry.
All right.
So,
I was at the board meeting.
Any questions, comments regarding this? So I'll call a question. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? That carries. Thank you very much. And now we'll move to the county administrator. John, I'll turn this over to you if you don't mind.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. We have three resolutions, basically. What we're intending to do, and as most of you know, our personnel officer is going to retire on April 19th. And so we've taken a look at this for about the last month or so, couple months probably. And we've decided that it makes sense to have one director of human resources who also serves as the personnel officer. And then we would delete the position of personnel officer. So the first motion you see is to create the director of human resources and the annual salary that was discussed at the last personnel meeting, and then to delete the position of personnel officer, and then to appoint Jackie Figueroa, the current Director of Human Resources, into that position to serve as both the HR Director and the Personnel Officer. And then we have the change to the things we need to do for on the accounting side to fix the table of organization, and then there'll be one at the finance to adjust some of the budget associated with it.
So these are items 5A, B, and C on the agenda. If possible, I'd like to ask for a motion to bring all three together at the same time. Supervisor Mayday, Supervisor Etu. Now, any discussion or comments, if we have some, in relation to this, since we're talking about an individual, I suggest that we go into executive session. So I'll leave it up to the committee. If there's no discussion, I'll just call that question. So it's up to the committee.
Let me just, is there a motion on it or?
Did I call a motion or did I? did.
It would be under section 105.
We don't have a motion for.
Oh, you do
executive.
not? Okay, that's what I.
So I'll leave this to the committee. Is there a reason to bring this into executive session? Seeing none, I'll call the question. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? That motion carries. Those motions carry. Moving forward, County Attorney, Larry, turn this over to you.
All right, thank you. I'm going to withdraw the request 6A from the agenda, as we do not need to address that. And I would ask for an executive session pursuant to Public Officers Law, Section 105, subparagraph 1, sub D, to discuss each of the items that are listed on the agenda under 6B. It would take way too long to go through them. So that would be the motion if anyone's inclined to go into executive session to address pending litigation.
Supervisor
Motion.
Driscoll, Supervisor Etu on the second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? That motion carries. We will enter into executive